top story. Thousands of people in Yorkshire will be sleeping tonight in buildings that are still covered in dangerous materials. The risks of flammable cladding were highlighted more than a year ago after 72 people died in the Grenfell disaster. 30 buildings in our region still have similar cladding.
Residents now face bills of thousands of pounds to put it right. Tonight, West Yorkshire Fire Service has told us that because of our investigation, they've carried out an inspection on tower blocks with more than 200 flats. David Rhodes has this special report.
For those living in a tower block like Skyline Apartments in Leeds, this is their worst nightmare. In February, a fire broke out, and afterwards residents were told the building had a type of cladding called ACM, which experts say is a fire risk.
We discovered that the cladding on the building is combustible. I'm pretty angry because it's taken so long to sort it out, and this is life-threatening.
ACM cladding is potentially dangerous, and the company that runs this building says that as soon as this type of cladding was found, they installed a range of safety measures such as fire wardens, which were approved by West Yorkshire Fire Service. Buildings like this were designed so that if a fire broke out, residents could stay in their own flat, but since the discovery of the cladding on this building, if a fire now breaks out, residents have been told they need to get out. After the Grenfell disaster in June 2017, where 72 people died, tower block owners were told to check their cladding. ACM cladding stands for Aluminium Composite Material Panels. They're used typically to alter how a building looks on the outside. The panels are made up of 3 sections. 2 aluminium sheets form the outer part, which sandwiches a foam core. It's been found that the foam core in some ACM products is highly flammable, meaning that in a fire, certain types of ACM cladding can help a blaze spread rapidly. Government figures show up to 30 buildings in Yorkshire still have ACM cladding on them. They're found in 2 areas in South Yorkshire and 4 council areas across West Yorkshire. But this is not the full picture. We found other residential buildings in Yorkshire that have different types of cladding systems that could also be dangerous.
The cladding's not safe, it's been deemed unsafe, so at the minute we're currently living in a place that's unsafe to live.
This is Saxton Parade, an award-winning 235 flat complex in Leeds. It used to be social housing, but was redeveloped privately around 10 years ago by a company called Urban Splash. The building is covered in a cladding type called high-pressure laminate. We've obtained a building report about Saxton Parade that was written only last month. In this report it says that the external wall and cladding system is combustible and is therefore in breach of current building regulations and the building regulations in place at the time of construction. Urban Splash told us that in 2011, when the building was completed, it received building regulations approval and a final building control certificate. And the current managing agent for Saxton said that measures such as a waking watch and fire wardens have also been introduced. The changes to cladding on Saxton Parade and Skyline Apartments that are currently being planned are likely to cost millions of pounds, and flat owners have been told they might have to cover the costs.
£10,000 to £20,000 per flat. So I have no idea how I will raise that money, but they are asking for it up front.
I can't rent it out and I can't sell it because nobody wants to buy it because of the cladding. And it makes you quite angry, the fact that you've bought something, you've paid for it, and you have to spend money to upgrade somebody else's mistake.
A recent ruling found that freeholders, the people who own tower blocks, can get flat owners, known as leaseholders, to pay for cladding to be removed. But a Leeds MP says the law should be changed.
Clearly, the money has to be found up front to replace the cladding, and it needs to be done quickly for reasons of safety. But this absolutely cannot fall on the shoulders of the leaseholders.
The minister responsible for housing has said freeholders should pay for cladding to be replaced, but wouldn't commit to actually changing the law.
It should be for those owning the freeholds, owning those buildings, the developers, who have the responsibility to actually make the changes that are needed.
All of the companies involved with Skyline Apartments and Saxton Parade say safety remains their #1 priority, but there are many people still living in buildings with cladding that could be dangerous, waiting to find out who will pay the final bill. David Rhodes, BBC Look North, Leeds.
So clearly a worrying time for residents. I spoke to the Chief Planning Officer at Leeds City Council earlier and asked him who was responsible for signing off the building for safety reasons.
We check it while we're going through, if we're the building control authority, and we approve plans beforehand. But we aren't clerks of works for the project, the construction project.
I think it's fair to say that there are 10 buildings in Leeds that have got this kind of cladding. If you were to take that responsibility and say, right, we will help you, we will remove the cladding from all those buildings, what cost are we talking about?
I think this would be in the millions, if not tens of millions, in terms of renovating, restoring, recladding all of those buildings.
Would you think it likely that the government might cough up some money to help?
Well, I think the government has been approached by local authorities across the country to help where, for example, those local authorities have got extensive council flats in tower blocks. Leeds is to some extent fortunate that we don't have to face that issue. We've been working very closely with our own residents to reassure them, to inform them. We actually, before Grenfell, were starting to put sprinklers into council properties, and we're continuing to do that and pay for it. Although, obviously, if the government would like to give us a grant, that would be great.
But it's absolutely emphatic that Leeds City Council is not responsible for taking down this cladding and paying, as you say, millions of pounds
No,
to replace it.
and I don't think anybody, the building owners aren't putting that to us. We dealt with some of these schemes, but we didn't deal with all of them. And that's the key point. And in fact, on one of these, we dealt with part of it, and then it was handed over to a private approved inspector. So the system does need looking at.
Do you have any sympathy at all for the poor people who are living in their apartment blocks, fearing a bill's going to come through the door for thousands of pounds? They can't pay it.
Yeah, clearly it's a difficult position. We're very sympathetic to that. As a council, we don't necessarily have the powers to be able to help them through that legally, and we certainly don't necessarily have the money to pay for that. That might be a matter for government to help out with. And this is a national issue. What I can say is that those people are safe in their homes at the moment. We put measures in place with the fire service and with the building owners to make sure that there are those temporary measures, and that has avoided any of those people in Leeds being made homeless temporarily as a result of the outcome of the Grenfell fire.
I think we're in time for many people in Leeds.